Farzana.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. I think it was because you hadn't followed back,
Oh,
was
right.
why we couldn't find you. Yeah, it's all right. I'm waiting for Sister Sabira to join in as well.
Okay,
And then
inshallah.
we can inshallah start the program. Sister Sabira is here, and inshallah, I hope she can join in as well. You are given the accept allow button to Sister Sabira. Sister Sabira, are you there? Okay. It says here. Sabra, are you there?
Let me check the
Okay,
list. I don't see.
it says she isn't able to join. I had, yes, accepted your request, but it's not allowing you to join. I wouldn't know why. Maybe perhaps
She's on there. Do you want to try again?
she is on, and I've already given her the acceptance button, like I've pressed on it, but I think she's not able to join in. It's not allowing. I think the feature is not allowing.
She needs to maybe update her Instagram.
I'm not quite sure. Let me try again. Okay, I think we'll just take. Oh, perfect. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I'm so happy. Oh my God. Thank God. Yes.
Finally.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, perfect. So I know that we are already late on today's program. I would like to apologize to everybody. I had some technical issues on my side, and I'm actually somewhere out of my home location. I'm somewhere else, so I had to attend another program as well. That's one of the reasons why I got late as well. And I would like to apologize. Anyways, let us start with our program today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum to our dear brothers and sisters, and welcome on the Lantern of Light official with me, your host Sakeena Habib, for this evening. A little about myself. I'm based in Arusha, Tanzania. By profession, I'm a journalist, a passionate public speaker. I'm someone who really loves to serve the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And we warmly invite you all to join us with a cup of tea live on our Instagram page, Lantern of Light Official. Please spread the word to everybody to join us on this beautiful program of today. It's live, and I would really appreciate if everybody can join us in today. So before moving on, I want to tell you about what the Lantern of Light is all about. The Lantern of Light is a safe space, open platform where we can all connect deeply on polishing ourselves and having a similar mindset towards achieving a great purpose in life. And the Lantern of Light has transformed the lives of sisters journeying in the banner of sisterhood, love, unity, being non-judgmental, being real, being authentic. And our motto is letting go and letting God in, so that we are able to fulfill our potential, and also how it has inspired sisters and brothers who have been a part of our journeys. And we have had amazing workshops, talks, and lectures. Alhamdulillah. Like recently, we had Sheikh Jawad Shomali on Dua Kumail, and we had so many other inspiring lecturers, even Sheikh Muhammad Ali Shomali, and so many other phenomenal, amazing speakers on our program. It's all about the inner light and inner goal, and that is what the purpose of the Lantern of Light is. It is a global sisters and brothers initiative. Especially, it is dedicated to sisters, of course, but brothers are also welcome to empower these sisters and to support them and be there for the growth of these sisters with a growth mindset. Knowing ourselves, our self-worth, building a fraternity amongst us, and letting go of the narratives that we have lived with, that has been so prejudiced within our souls. So with all that, I wanted to actually introduce about what is the Lantern of Light, because many people don't really know what the Lantern of Light is all about. So I wanted to really like briefly introduce about this page, and I would encourage all of you to, join in and be together. Inshallah, on today's burning topic, which is about looking deeper than your body, I think this is a very important topic, because we've all been in such situations in our lives where we've had to hear very dreadful comments about how our bodies look like. Have you put on too much, or you're looking too thin and you're looking too pale and stuff like that. And especially when we talk about women being wives, then after becoming mothers, especially, we go through the postpartum depression, we put on weight, and then again we get those negative comments from within our own family members. That's sometimes the sad part, that we get such comments from our adult relatives and people who are really basically close to us. And I think that has a very deep impact on our mental health, and that's why we need to sort of unpack this topic on today's program. To carry on with today's discussion, I am joined by these two amazing guests who are, mashallah, amazing, phenomenal in their fields of expertise. They know what they're doing, and I would like to introduce the both of them. And inshallah, then we will be all putting our information together on today's program for everyone to benefit. And again, please quickly do join this live program so you are all part of this, and we can have a lot of questions together. So my first guest is Sister Sabira Kanji. She's a clinical psychologist and a family and a systematic therapist. She was born in Tanzania and brought up in Pakistan, where she completed her master's in clinical psychology. She then lived in London, where she achieved her second master's degree in family and systemic therapy from King's College London. And she currently lives in Tehran, Iran, and is a mother to a 9.5-year-old son. I think 10 maybe by now, yes. And her goals, must I mention that she's been living in Tehran for the past 14 years, where she has been providing online therapy sessions for the past 6 years and accumulating clientele from all over the world with the help of her Instagram page, Heal and Rise with Sabira. And not only that, but she has a goal, and that is to raise awareness for mental health. Hence, she reaches out to South Asian Muslims who struggle with their mental health, and has been invited to communicate on topics related to mental health to the public through the use of several platforms. And our second guest is Sister Farzana Karawalli, also who is very famously known as Farzana Wellbeing. She is a therapeutic life coach at SSA Services. She's a nurse, a social worker, trainer, and consultant. She will talk about how what sort of a mental impact do these sort of dilemmas that we have in our community, in our society, what sort of an impact do they have on one's mental health? As you know, that she has also gone through and overcome the journey of having dyslexia, and how it has an effect on her confidence and bullying and all of that. And mashallah, she has overcome all of that with a very strong mental strength. So she will be connecting the mental health area and alongside with psychology in today's discussion. So without much further ado, I would like to welcome the two guests on board, but very, very importantly, this program today is especially in dedication to Marhum Murtaza Ghulam Hussein Pir Muhammad. So with a very, very deep heart, I would like to extend my condolence to Sister Naseem Walji Pir Muhammad, who unfortunately will not be joining us on today's program due to this very, very sad news. And the reason being is that she's not in town and she had to travel for the burial. And we all request and pray that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the marhum, grant him maghfirat. And before we begin the program, let us please all recite a Surah Al-Fatiha and remember him. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Inshallah, as we proceed on today's program, we remember the marhum in our du'as, and we pray that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give sabr jameel to Sister Naseem and her entire family as they're going through this very deep bereavement, inshallah. So let me, without much further ado, welcome my two amazing guests on board. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Thank you for inviting us today.
It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for to the both of you for taking out your precious time on today's program, and to really like spread a very, very you can say, to touch a very sensitive topic. That's one, and to spread knowledge that can really help people out, to spread that awareness, to help people out, so that we can break this stereotype that's been going on for the past I don't know how many years within our communities, and having a really negative effect on certain women in our community and society. So I will, inshallah, start with question one with Sister Farzana, and that is that, Sister Farzana, when we hear the term body shaming, what comes to your mind?
So firstly, the word shaming obviously stands out very strongly. And when we think of shame, we think of degrading, right? When we think of anything shameful, we think of it as very degrading. So, and that's exactly what it is. When we body shame somebody, we are degrading them, and what we don't realize is it might seem like an outwardly, attack or an action or a behavior towards somebody, but actually internally, we are degrading them internally as well. It can pull somebody down so dramatically, and it can have devastating effects on an individual. How they see themselves, how they function within society. We don't realize the impact of just, how a few words can affect somebody.
Very well said. I think these comments, they're usually triggered because of the very fact that we're probably not satisfied within ourselves, and there is some sort of like a lack within ourselves, and that is, what leads one to basically compare yourself with others, and start using these negative comments against them. So I think this has a lot to do with one's identity, self as well, which we will get to. I would like to move to Sister Sabira first. Sister Sabira, how does body shaming impact our self-esteem?
Yeah, just let's move a step behind and talk about our body image. Yeah, like how do we view our body? How do we feel about our own body? Because that is connected to our self-image. So if you have a positive body image, that you're okay with your body, no matter how you look, you're okay with it. You will have a high self-esteem, and you will feel good about yourself, and will be more, open to, let's say, the changes that are happening place in your body due to age, due to any kind of change. But if you have a negative body image, that will automatically, impact your self-esteem, and it then impacts your mental health. You start becoming focused on how you look, because then that becomes as if that's the only thing that defines you. Your worthiness gets connected to how you look. And with all these the social media, the mainstream media, television, billboards, everywhere, you're bombarded. People around you are not commenting on you, because we are bombarded with all these images and all these ideas of, you should look a certain way to be acceptable. You should look, you should have a certain weight so that you're worthy, or this whole concept of, defining what perfection is. And we are all running towards it, although we know that these images are all photoshopped, they are filtered, they are cropped, but still, it's so much there everywhere, that somehow we start saying, oh my God, look at her and look at me. You start comparing yourself, and then it impacts the way you view yourself. Your self-esteem gets impacted, and unfortunately, that brings many mental health issues like anxiety, depression. You might isolate yourself from going out. You might have social anxiety. So it goes down really deep. It's not just one comment and that's it, or it's just one image. It impacts on how you view yourself, and then how you present yourself in the world.
Very true. Very well said. I'd like to touch upon this the magic bullet theory that we read in the in media psychology. It's like your minds are getting filtered with certain images that pop up on your screen or on the bulletin boards and all of that, and that sort of gets engraved in our minds. And when we look up to these celebrities and public figures and models, they have this perfect waist size, zero size and all of that. And now we want to become like them. We're not happy within ourselves. It's not really necessary that, you need to have like a standard body shape, because every human being's body is, made in a different way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, created you in different ways, in different proportions. Someone can be like a chubby looking person but they are healthy. Someone can be like looking very skinny and all of that, but they're probably not healthy. You understand what I mean? So I think based on these things, like people, they start making judgment that, oh, just because she's too chubby, so she's fat, but that's not the case. Maybe that's her body requirements. That's how she's supposed to be in order to function, as a healthy woman or as a healthy human being. So I liked how you touched those points as well. It's how the media, bombards those messages to us. And Sister Farzana, over, our lifetime and with the environmental influences that we are exposed to, we get conditioned to think in a certain way and behave in a certain way. So how does this have an effect on one's self-identity?
So I think what you were saying before, I just want to touch on. So that's an element of latent learning. So learning that is unconscious. We're constantly, bombarded, like you said, with lots of information, lots of pictures, lots of things that when we look at, we like. And when we look at and we like, eventually what we don't realize is we feel comfortable towards that. And so we start to make associations within ourselves, and other people associate as well, that what we're seeing that we like, that we're bombarded with all the time without realizing. This is all unconscious, that a lot of information we're taking in is not conscious, it is unconscious. But it develops a sense of comfort, just like when you go home every day, you feel comfortable in that same way. So when we develop that sense of comfort, we then look forward to that kind of ideology within ourselves or within others. And going back to what you'd said before as well, is that if there's something that's lacking within us, then only we will recognize it in somebody else. We wouldn't recognize it in somebody else if it wasn't lacking within us, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like a reflection. So going back to your question, I think when we look at the associations we make, the attributes that we attribute that somebody, like you said, is chubby, and so that means that they're unhealthy. And I know for a fact that there are people that have got high cholesterol that are quite slim, and people that are chubby that don't have high cholesterol. We don't take into account that actually the chubbiness may not be fat, it may be water retention because of hormones and things like that. We don't look at any of that. And the impact it has on somebody, I mean, with all the information that we get, when we ask ourselves, who am I? We don't actually take that information on board. We normally think of ourselves as, how do I present myself?
Yes.
We lose our own identity because we're so fixated on what others see us as. So it's always, how do I present myself? And when you're going towards that side, how do I present myself? You're not your innate personality. You end up feeling quite hollow within yourself. You're not, you're not being authentic most of your life. And without the authenticity in your life, you feel weak.
Yes.
You don't feel strong enough to face situations like Sister Sabira mentioned. You don't feel that strength to face certain situations. Anything that anyone says will affect you very quickly. But also there's an element of confusion. You're living your life as somebody you're not. You're painting yourself as somebody you're not to your spouse possibly, and friends and other people around you. So they have an expectation of you as well, in return for the person that you're not and you're presenting. And all of that creates further issues in terms of low mood, because you can't keep up with who
Yes.
you present yourself as. Your mental health deteriorates, elements of anxiety increase, and you wonder what is happening. You know, why do I feel this way? What is going on? And before you know it, issues around mental health can start to develop. And this is when eating disorders might start to develop. It becomes an absolute vicious cycle. And it really goes back to being really authentic with ourselves and understanding who we are, why we are the way we are. And that obviously Allah's created us in the best. You know, he said that. He's created us in the best. We are all unique, like you said, and we all have our own identity. You know, apparently there's only 7 people in the world that look like us. So we're meant to be different. We're not meant to look alike. I still haven't found my look-alike, but if anyone does, please message me.
Okay, very well said. And also, Islamically, from an Islamic perspective, if we see, we have this mentioned in Surah Al-Hujurat as well, that, you know, do not ridicule, do not mock people by, especially, you know, name calling. We have a lot of that, I think, within our, I can say maybe Asian culture, Desi culture, where, you know, you get to be called by, like, with labels that, oh, you know, she's too, like, moti or choti and all of that, you know. I think that we really need to work on these issues. I mean, yeah, sometimes it can sound really like funny and nice, you know. Maybe it's like you're just teasing someone in a joke manner, you know. You're just like, okay, I'm just teasing you, I don't mean it. But you never know how much that can actually have an effect on someone, you know, in the future. How much can that actually, you know, cause a mental health impact on them, you know, without realizing. Sometimes we say a lot of things very bluntly. It's done in a very unintentional manner, but we have to be careful of our words as well. And you know, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasalam have also always emphasized on this fact that, you know, we really need to be careful about what we say, especially what words come out from your tongue, you know, because that is also a haqq, that is also a right, you know, the rights of the tongue as well. We're looking at that as well. So we need to be very conscious about ourselves. And Sister Sabira, if we are to talk about body shaming, how does body shaming impact our relationships? You know, we if we are to delve into relationships, for example, husband and wife, or for example, a daughter-in-law with the mother-in-law, we have a lot of relationships. So if you were to comment on that, how does body shaming impact such relationships?
Yeah, so you see, body shaming is something that, you know, it's not like that it happens after you're a teenager or, you know, as an adult. It starts when you're born. You know, the first thing when a baby is born, you know, the usual comments are on its physical, you know, who does he look like? Who does she look like? Look at his nose. It looks like his mom, you know, all these emphasis on the appearance. Yeah. Then maybe we'll ask about, okay, is this baby healthy or not? You know, so it just starts from the day you are born, like, you know, comments on the physical appearance of a baby. And then it goes on. And it's not like it's always the outer world, or it's the, you know, it's people from not within the family, mothers and fathers, without realizing. Obviously, their intentions are pure. They probably comment on their child because they want to change that in their child. But shaming is not the way, right? Whether it's behavior, whether it's appearance, when you shame, it's directly associated to guilt, and you will feel guilty about it. Like, let's say when a child goes to school, or and you know, the mother says, oh, look at your friend, he eats so well, you don't eat fruits, look at his height, look at your height, you're not growing good enough. And you know, this all starts with these feelings. The child develops feelings that, oh, I'm not acceptable the way I am. And parents are people who the child expects to be unconditionally loved. You know, so when we start putting conditions that, you know, you should eat, you shouldn't look a particular way, you know, you are not good enough, you're not good enough. So that this is, you know, where it starts, like, okay, I'm not good enough. It becomes his own voice. Because before that, children, you know, they are not really concerned. But unfortunately, research says that from the age of 3, children actually start noticing about how they look, what, you know, their features. They start comparing. And when parents also, you know, start commenting on how they are looking, and they start comparing, so it's all, you know, starting from a very young age. And then it goes on, and I think it increases in teenage life, when they're already having identity crisis and they already want to fit in with their, let's say, friend circle. So every comment that, they get from friends, community, parents, it becomes like their own identity. It becomes their own inner critical voice. So, first of all, the relationship with parents will obviously get affected when parents are body shaming, and they will either feel angry that parents are not understanding me, or they will feel, their own self-esteem will be, let's say, they'll feel worthless because they're not looking like, this way that their parents want or their friend want. And in puberty, and in when teenagers are showing all these change, their bodies change. So you must have noticed that girls who are getting the signs earlier are bullied. Boys who are growing a mustache earlier or later are bullied. So all this comes under body shaming, and it does not only impact the way they look at themselves, but it will definitely impact their relationships with their friends. They might start getting isolated because they are being mocked, they are being bullied. And it may impact their studies as well, because in school, if they feel uncomfortable, if they feel bullied, it will definitely impact their grades, if it will impact their relationships. And then in our community, when these girls and boys are old enough to, let's say, get married, again there's this whole layer of body shaming that they go through. And I don't want to offend anyone, but in our community it's so common that when a guy is looking for a girl, their definition is, let me say it in Urdu, patli or patli or gori ladki chahiye, thin, patli, lambi or gori, thin, tall and fair, how. And that is, they don't even, this is the first demand, as if, that they don't look at themselves. I don't want to say that all men are like that or all families are like that, but it is so common. And there's so many girls who, let's say, do not fit that criteria. They feel, depressed. They go through these diets to look thinner, or they are forced by their parents. The culture forces them. No, you have to look this way to be, to get a rishta, as they say, that to get a suitable spouse. And this is something that needs to be addressed. What about this person, the personality? What about the akhlaq? What about the faith of this person? Why do we have to always look at these things that are actually not important? No matter how good looking you are, there's still more. It's a never ending kind of race that that has no end, because perfectionist doesn't exist. And the same woman, when she gets married, she delivers a child. Again, there's so many clients, unfortunately, who have come to me and said that my husband keeps telling me that, I want your body that was before you gave birth, and I don't want you to have this weight. And these women then, question their own identity. Okay, and they without even thinking, they start going through these diets because they want to fit in. They want to be accepted. We all have this need to be accepted by our loved ones. They have anxieties about, what if he goes for another woman? What if I never lose this weight? So the weight becomes the focus, and then it's something that cannot be achieved. It's God has given you this nemat of giving birth to a child, and your body will change. And if we don't accept it, and we keep pressurizing this woman to lose weight, look a certain way, you are losing that this whole personality of this person, this beautiful human being, because you're not looking beyond her looks. So yes, relationships do get impacted, and in a relationship with husband and wife, it also impacts their sexual relationship, because this woman, when she's criticized or is body shamed by her spouse, she does not feel good enough, and she won't enjoy her intimate life. And there'll be all these frustrations coming up, that within the relationship, and if they're not communicated, it can also lead to, God forbid, a divorce as well, because these issues are there in our community, are there around there, and unfortunately we don't give it so much importance.
Thank
So
you
to
so much
add to
for.
that,
highlighting on that issue, and Sister Farzana would further like to complement. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. You were very spot on in terms of the dynamics of the relationship, and we don't realize that actually accounts for abuse. It's emotional abuse by that point. There's so many people that even I've worked with where actually the husbands that I've worked with that have said that, the bit I was saying about association, because the wife's put on weight, that means she's become lazy. Well, actually, she's been running after the kids. She's been, making sure that they're fed and they've done their work and whatever else, and she's working as well. How can you say that she's lazy just because she's put on the weight? She was never like this before. She's become so lazy, so laid back. Look, she's put on her weight. And it, when you hear it directly, you think, now, if you're able to say that to me so straightforward, how must you be saying it within that home life? The children will pick up on it. They will then start to say, and I'll hold myself to account as well, that, there might be times where even I've mentioned, God, you've put on a bit of weight, and then I think about it, I think, actually, really, should I have said that? Should I have said it in front of the kids? Was that right? But in these relationships, sometimes we find it becomes very abusive, very toxic, and the one mother tends to feel very singled out within the home environment. Again, this can contribute to severe mental health issues.
Definitely. I would like to agree with the both of you, and thank you actually for bringing this issue. As I said, that this is a safe space where we can talk about such sensitive issues that really need to be tackled, because if we won't speak up, then, nobody will get that awareness that we need to really, sort of spread. It's just a humble request to all the females and also the brothers who are watching the program to be kind, because at the end of the day, look at the beauty of the woman, that how much is she actually giving you, how much is she as Sister Farzana also mentioned very clearly, that you're taking care of the house, you're taking care of your children, you have that routine, you're taking care of your entire in-law family, everything comes into the picture. So how can one say that you're lazy and all of that? So we need to be very careful with the statements that we are using with each other. And Sister Sabira also very well you clarified about the lack of intimacy in relationship, which is something that really needs to be also highlighted, because I think that's leading to divorces, that's leading to men going out for other women, and that's leading for men within our communities to not sort of giving enough love to these women who actually deserve it so much more, because now they're giving you children, they're looking after these children, and so they want more of that appreciation from you, I feel. So I think we need to work on these areas. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. Now, in correlation to what Sister Sabira said, Sister Farzana, can you address the psychology behind how we internalize what a body or a person should look like?
So similar to what Sister Sabra was saying, I just want to add more a few bits that might be more helpful in terms of understanding right from childhood. What we do within childhood is we kind of think through schemas and we act through schemas, which is kind of it's a representation of the information that we are taking in unconsciously. How it's represented is through schemas. So we're able to make judgments and decisions through the information we've received. And a lot of this information is unconscious. We don't consciously kind of, sit and listen to things or look out for things. A lot of things is latent learning. It's just learning that just happens through, things that pass us by, environments within our home, environments within the community, what we see on TV, all of that, it just filters through into us. And what we do is, with that information, we then kind of unconsciously, like I said before, make associations. And we also have elements of direct learning. So conversations like today is an excellent opportunity for us to look at possible mindset changes, through direct learning. And this is when you become more in tune, when it's direct learning, with the fact that actually I'm receiving information, I need to stop taking that information in. Does that make sense? Whereas when you're unconsciously learning, you don't have that stop mechanism. You're not realizing that you are being fed information that is changing your perception of life and the way you think. So a lot of children or a lot of teenagers nowadays, as we know, are growing up in a situation where they've received so much information through their life, through schooling, through TV, through whatever it may be, that says to them they need to be a certain way. And that's the way they're thinking. So we need to now look at how we can bring those thoughts into their conscious mind and actually ask them to rethink it, to reframe the thinking that they're doing, right? In terms of, you know, their own mindset. They don't realize that they're thinking in that way some of the time. You know, it's an impulsive reaction, a behavior that comes out as a result of the thoughts and what they've, you know, learnt. So automatically, for example, for me to come here, I'm going to come out of my jogging bottoms and wear my hijab, you know, get dressed up because I have to look professional, all that kind of thing. That wasn't a very conscious decision. It's an automatic decision to know that I'm going on a screen. I have to look professional, so I must come out of the tracky bottoms or the overall that I was wearing whilst I was cooking, right? And that's the kind of thing. We need to bring our behaviors that we do into our conscious mind so that we can then reevaluate it and reframe it. What's happening around is normalization, okay? And who decides that? It's not us, it's not the minority, it's the majority that want to think in that way. And what we end up doing is thinking in that way too, and that adds to the normalization. We need, so I'm looking at it from a psychological perspective, but also a sociological perspective. You know, we need to move away from allowing this normalization of behavior, allowing this normalization that we have to be somebody else that we're not to make somebody happy. We have to consciously understand that if we are not happy within ourselves, nobody will be happy with us, if that makes sense. We can only make ourselves happy. We have to work on ourselves and not internalize every bit of information that we get from the environment. We're able to switch off when it comes to abusive language and things like that. But we don't realize that this information in terms of how I need to look is just as toxic going in. We just haven't realized that and recognized that to be able to stop that information going in. I mean, think of somebody that, you know, was the Gore, Lambe, whatever, you know, ideal person that husband wanted. And unfortunately, she had an accident or she had a scar, you know, even just a scar. I mean, I've heard this before. She's had a cesarean, she's got a scar, her belly now hangs, that's it. You know, I just don't feel that she's mine anymore. Well, hold on a minute. That was a massive sacrifice that she gave for you and your family, you know?
Right.
How can you not accept? And this scar is inevitable. It may come, you know, and along the you know, along with that, it may be that she's damaged her back. And so, you know, she can't walk as well. So all these things start to, you know, that have happened over time with wear and tear of your body. Why is there still an expectation that the woman has to be just as young? And even with the women, they have an expectation as well that the men have to be just as active and just as young. So let's not kind of men bash here. Let's go both ways about it.
Yes, exactly. So we are all here for equality. Okay, we're not belittling the men's side or anything as such, and we're not proving ourselves to be feminist as well. We're all working here together equally. We want to create that balance. Like Islam has always taught us that, you know, there should be that balance, you know. So we need to look out for that. And also, I want to touch on another point is that, you know, sometimes our young girls within our communities sort of don't get proposals because of the first thing which is noticed is because of their weight. I think Sister Sabra even mentioned this. She touched on this point in earlier, and I think we are missing out that probably that person has a very nice and a humble personality. Her akhlaq is good. You know, she's good at other things. She's probably very skillful and all of that. But you see, we forget. We tend to forget, and now we're looking at her. What do you say? Her visual characteristics, which are far much more important. She needs to be fair. She needs to be slim and skinny and all of that. So I think we need to cut down on the definition of what actually is real beauty, and that's one. And then also it works the same for the men's side, meaning the young boys. So when we get approached with their proposals, again, we're judging them based on their features. Oh, look, this one is too short and this one is too fat, and I want a guy with this specific height, this many feet and this many inches, otherwise I don't want him, and all of that. So these are some things that we really need to sort of work on, because first look at the personality of this person, what he has to offer as well. There are so many things that Islam talks about, so many factors that one needs to look at a person, starting from his akhlaq, from his behavior, the way he deals and treats people. That's what actually tells about your personality. What kind of person are you? Are you treating everybody in a nice way, or are you rude, and all of that? Do you what do you say? Create, like, wow, what is the right word for it as, and do you discriminate people? Do you misjudge people? So these are some things that really need to be questioned as well. As for another important question that I'd like to pose to Sister Sabira is that, of course, after having this entire discussion for today, what do you think should be these certain solutions? What certain steps can we take so that we can sort of cut down on this definition of stereotypes, and become more neutral and less judgmental and be more authentic? So I'd like to first start with Sister Sabira, and then we will end the program with Sister Farzana, as she also compliments and gives her opinions.
Yeah, I'll just add to what you said, Sister Sakeena, about this body being, what, as if Sister Naseem was here, she would have described it in more detail. That it's just a wasila, yeah, it's just a wasila. We couldn't come here without a body, so the body is there, but it's not the actual purpose why we were sent here. Plus, it doesn't mean that we do not take care of our bodies, right? We leave it, we don't eat healthy, we just say, okay, I'm happy and I've accepted the way I am. So I'll, eat junk, I'll do whatever I want, I'll not take care of my body. We are not trying to put that message across. What we mean is that we are more than our body, and this body is just a vessel that Allah has given us so that we we go into this journey of our actual purpose in this world. And as for solutions, Sister Sakeena, like body shaming takes place at various levels, right? We body shame ourselves as well, with this inner critical voice that keeps telling us whenever we look in the mirror, let's say, oh, I'm not good at it. Oh, look at this wrinkle. Oh, my eyes like this. My lips are like this. I've got so many bumps. I've got this and that. So, first of all, I think it's very important that we actually listen to what we are telling ourselves. Because as Sister Farzana said, that if we are not accepting ourselves as we are, people won't accept it. And, it will trigger, if you have accepted it, then no matter what people say, you're okay with what you are, or who you are, or how you look. So firstly, I think it's very important that we let's say journal what we are telling ourselves, and then challenge those thoughts and question those thoughts. Am I just my body? And sometimes in this process we forget that these body parts, or these let's say our skin, our hair, our height, everything has a purpose, and we don't focus on the functions. We just focus on the appearance. I can walk, alhamdulillah, I can see, there's so many things that our body is doing every single second, right? And we are so much focused on just its outer beauty, and we forget that it has got so many functions it's doing for us. And then having a little bit of gratitude for ourselves, accepting ourselves, is one of the ways that at least we are not body shaming ourselves. And also as parents, being cautious of what we are telling our children. Like we all have memories of how some comment stayed in our head. Like today I was just thinking that I actually had a neighbor who just said a very little thing to me, and I remember it till today after 30 years. I still wear glasses, and my eyesight is weak. So as a child, she said, "You've got such beautiful eyes, isn't it a pity that they're behind these glasses? And you know, it really impacted me. I started wearing lenses at the age of 15, and I almost lost my eye. I can't, let's say, I don't have 100% vision on one of them. And why did I almost lose my eye? Because I just wanted to buy lenses, and I bought something very, you know, something which was maybe not perfect, and I then could not wear lenses for 10 years. I had to wear those glasses, and every time I went to, let's say, Khoshali, I felt bad about why do I have to wear glasses? But I had to because I couldn't see. So, you know, I don't remember anything about that neighbor except for this comment, right? So, you know, being more conscious about what we are telling our children or other people. And unfortunately, aunties in our community, you know, give themselves permission to say a lot of things to every other person, you know. And then what we are doing is, you know, you must have heard right now that many teenagers or many young people are actually not willing to go to the mosque because they say that, you know, people or the aunties, you know, have to comment on my dressing or have to comment on the way I look. And, you know, these things are actually not important. You know, as long as, you know, we give ourselves permission to judge people, and it's not just judging in my head. It's about, you know, I'll go and tell it's amr bil maruf, but it's not. We have to draw that line that you know, I don't think Islam gives us permission to hurt someone like this or to judge people. And if we were given this permission, then Allah would not have made us all differently, or would not have had so many discussions. We would not have had these discussions about how other people's feelings are important in our religion and how we should not hurt people. And there's so many, you know, hukukul nas, that, you know, God says, I will forgive my own, you know, if you do wrong, let's say towards Allah, it's okay, He will forgive. But if you have hurt someone, you have to ask forgiveness from that particular person. So I think being more conscious of what we are telling our children, what we are telling other people in our community, and also educating our children that if they're being bullied or if they're being body shamed at school or anywhere, they have to raise their voice. And so do we, like, you know, having that assertiveness of saying, "Hell, you cannot comment on my body. I won't give you that permission." As adults also, it's difficult for us because we were not brought up in that way, that, you know, we were told, okay, you know, just listen to it quietly. It's okay. You know, she didn't mean it. You know, we're always gaslighting it. But actually, we have to comment. We have to tell the other person that it is not okay. So, you know, telling our children, because, you know, bullying is a major issue these days, not only in schools, etc., but also online, and, you know, all this cyberbullying, etc. It's there. We cannot just close our eyes and say that no, our kids will be fine. They are going through a lot, you know, in terms of how they look, and in terms of their self-esteem, etc. And I think Sister Farzana will also shed more solutions about how we can deal with body
So
shaming.
I just want to say thank you, Sister Sabra. You've shared really important, vital points, and we have very short time right now. So I would like to wrap up very quickly. And if I can just have Sister Farzana very briefly talk about, you know, 1 to 2 solutions, complementing Sister Sabra. And thank you, Sister Sabra, for,
Thank
you know, those
you.
points.
So I think there's a two-prong approach here, and the main highlight of the two-prong approach is education. So we first need to educate others. So if somebody says that, you know, you're big or you're fat, or how comes you put on weight, I think we need to have the confidence, at least try, maybe hold the hand of that person so it seems nice. You touch their hand and say, Auntie, thank you for the observation. I just wanted to let you know that unfortunately I'm not too well, or I'm this, or I'm that. Not give it back to them in a way that, you know, revenge, and I'm not taking that. Our attitude has to be right as well. Yes. We have to be authentic within ourselves when we make those replies and we say to them. And if we don't and we let it go, we are not doing justice. That is amr bil maruf. We are actually, you know, making a correction, and also educating ourselves. educating ourselves about everything that's influencing us in life. This goes further than just body shaming. There is so much that we are taking in unconsciously that we shouldn't be. We need to be, looking at personal development. We need to be looking at, constant learning about ourselves. We always look to learn about outside of us and others and, different things that we want to learn and we're interested in, but we need to stop and take interest in ourselves and learn about ourselves primarily. Who are we? Why are we here? What are we doing here? What's our innate purpose here? And I think that would alleviate a lot of pain that we end up inflicting on ourselves, inshallah.
Thank you, inshallah. Thank you so much, Sister Farzana and Sister Sabira, for joining on today's program and for delving into this very important burning issue. I'm sure that many of our viewers and the audience would have benefited from today's program, and I hope that we can work on ourselves and understand what is our real purpose. If we would understand that, then all these things wouldn't really matter, because even Islam does not encourage body shaming, does not encourage mocking, ridiculing, name calling, and all of these things. We need to improve in our akhlaqs and behaviors towards each other. Everybody has their own stories, everybody has their own issues, and we all wouldn't understand that, but everybody within themselves know that they are all struggling and fighting a war. So let's not make it worse for them with negative comments. Let us be more kind towards them. Let us understand each other. Let us empower each other. Let us unite together and work towards a goal, which is basically to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be humble servants at the end of the day for the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam. I would like to end today's program. Thank you so much, Sister Farzana and Sister Sabira.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for tuning on today's program. If you have missed out on today's live program, the recording will still be available, so you can access it on the Lantern of Light official page, inshallah. And please do share today's talk as quite as possible as you can on different platforms, so that many of our sisters and brothers can take lessons from today's discussion. Thank you very much. This is your host, Sakeena Habib, signing off. Jazakumullahu khairan. Have a lovely evening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.